going to backtrack a little bit and do a quick video over limiting reactants or reagents and our examples, because I had a lot of absences for people that were out because of quarantine or just different reasons. So I do want to make sure that you guys understand as far as those limiting reactants. So some of you guys may have this already, so feel free to just let the video play out so you can get your 10 out of 10 points for this ed puzzle. And those of you that have not seen this, then just make sure you pay real close attention. All right, so limiting reactants are the ones that are going to determine how much we can actually make. And you guys have already seen those ed puzzles where it's asking about the limiter or the excess. So for these problems, you actually have two givens, right? So notice it says you have 4 moles of S and 2 moles of F2. So this is how much we are actually starting our problem with. And there's a couple different ways that you can actually do this. And Edpuzzle showed you a different way than what I normally teach it. So we're going to go ahead and do that Edpuzzle way. So our end goal is we want to know how much of the SF6 we can produce. It all depends on which one is our limiter and which one is our excess. So we are going to take 4 moles of S, and we are going to do a mole ratio between sulfur and SF6 from your equation. Now, mole ratios are just your coefficients, right, that are in front. All right, so what we're going to do is I have no number in front, so it means a coefficient of 1. So I have 1 mole of sulfur. That's going to go on the bottom. And since my end game is to see how much SF6 I can produce, I'm going to go ahead and look at SF6 in the equation for my mole ratio. No number in front. I have 1 mole of SF6. All right, so when I calculate 4 moles of SF6 is how much I can make if I start with 4 moles of sulfur. Now we need to do this problem again, except with 2 moles of F2. Right, as our given over 1. I'm going to do a mole ratio again, except my mole ratio is going to be between F2 and SF6. All right, so I look at the coefficient in front. It is 3. It goes on the bottom of our train track so they can get them to cancel out. We're going to look at SF6 again. All right, and we're going to calculate 2 times 1, 1 times 3. All right, remember to put it in decimal form. All right, so what we have determined, we always go with the smaller number. 4 moles of sulfur will end up making 4 moles of SF6. 2 moles of fluoride will end up making 0.067 moles of SF6. The number that is the smallest is the one that we're going to look at to determine our limiter. So 0.67 is smaller. We're going to look back at what we started with. I started with F2. So that means F2 is our limiter or limiting substance in this equation. All right, and if F2 is limiting, the other reactant is going to be our excess reagent. Okay. And that is it for limiting reactants in moles.